So the show is called What Girls Are Made Of. It's an autobiographical show, which I perform in with a live band who also play many different characters throughout my journey. They play my family, they play the band, they play the record company. And it charts a story of me as a schoolgirl landing this big record deal, which is all true. When I was 17 years old, I joined a little indie band in Fife called Darling Heart, and it was one of these quintessential moments, rock and roll moments, where we just landed right time, right place. We got this huge deal, and before we knew it, we were out on tour with Blur and Radiohead and the Cranberries, and it was a kind of 2-year period that was just a kind of crazy part of my life that feels like it was just in a little kind of made up box now. And I recently came across my diaries, which I'd kept since I was about 9 years old. When my father passed away, I was cleaning out the family home, and I found all these diaries and a big box of clippings that he'd kept as well, and it just took me right back, and I started to think maybe there's something in this. I reflected on it in a different way because I now have my own little girl, and at that point in time, I guess my mum and dad had to let go and just let me roll with this. And I only realise now as a parent, that must have been terrifying. So there was a kind of different kind of reflection on the story about just letting go of your girls and what can you give them, what can you pass on to equip them in life. So it started to form in my head. So it's about the rock and roll journey, but it's about a lot more. It's about how do you build strong young women, and how do any of us build ourselves? It's a weird one because I came to drama college after the whole rock and roll record company debacle ended, so I sort of feel like I'd already had this whole life from 17 to 20. I'd been kind of whisked out into this crazy rock and roll world, dropped like a hot potato, kind of left on the heap and going, what do I do next? So when I told my parents I was going to drama college, they were like, hallelujah, a real job. Which is not the most common response for parents around the planet. So for me, it kind of felt quite a weird step to go into a formal institution when I'd been kind of sitting in the back of a tour bus for the past 2 years. So I think I found that structure quite difficult to begin with at first, and I wasn't sure it was the right fit for me at all, actually. But I think gradually I stuck with it, and I thought, no, I think I'm going to learn a lot here, and it gave me a great ground in it. Yeah, I stuck in and then really kind of grew to really love the course and love the place. Worked as an actor for about 15 years across TV, theatre and film, did a lot of work with companies like Gridiron, Vox Motus, did the Sub Rosa with David Leddy, the beautiful site-specific piece in The Citizens, Vox Motus Slick, where we kind of were all these little vaudeville puppets. That was a fabulous show to be involved with. But then I started directing in around 2008. I won the Archies Award for New Directors when that still existed, and created a little show called Amada, with a beautiful Basque singer and Chilean guitarist, and that was me really finding my language, finding the way that I wanted to tell stories. Music has always played a big part of that. Visual imagery has always played a massive part. I went on to start my own company in 2009, and our big launch production was Roadkill, which was a site-specific piece about trafficking, and that went through the roof, that fringe, and eventually went on to tour in New York and Chicago and Paris and London, and really opened up the doors for a lot of work that was to come, like Glasgow Girls, the big political musical that I created with David Gregg and many other collaborators. And most recently, last summer, I directed Adam for NTS, which was a remarkable story of a young transgender Egyptian man who travelled from Egypt and ended up living in Glasgow. Be open to everything that's thrown at you, you know, even things that you feel uncomfortable with or don't quite understand what the usefulness is of it. It probably becomes apparent years down the line what someone is trying to give you. I think just always being open, you just absorb, be curious about the world. You know, it's not... The great game of this is not about how do I get that job, how do I be a star. That's a really dull way to look at things. It's what are those stories out there? How can I engage with all this meaty, important stuff? How do I just, everything is feeding your brain as an actor, as a performer, as a maker. Just draw on life around you from every aspect. Be interested in everything. Just that's the way to feed and make good work, I think.